Here are 3 grave mistakes that I've made when I was 13 to early 14 years old, and I don't want you to be making the same mistakes as me, so I'm just going to make a video about this, and it's going to stem from the least worst to the worst habit that I had. And make sure to stay to the end because I'll be showing you guys the solutions on how to eliminate these bad habits. So yeah, and before we get into the video, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button because it makes my day and it's also a win-win situation. So yeah, the first habit that I'm talking about is seeking or constantly seeking the validation from others. You know, a bunch of teens in this generation do this, but I was a big validation seeker back then. I loved, getting the approval from others so I can feel full myself. I didn't really fulfill myself personally, but I got my fulfillment from the approval and the validation of others. And if I look back at it, I didn't really love myself that much. I still enjoyed life at that time, but I didn't love myself that much as I do right now because I didn't really connect with myself much because the sense of approval and the sense of self-love was coming from external forces. So of course, I would feel very shit if somebody said something mean to me, which is pretty normal as a teen. I took basically a bunch of stuff personally, but the first mistake I made was just constantly seeking the validation of others. And just a disclaimer here is that seeking validation from others is a completely human thing. There's nothing bad about it, but as long as you balance the bridge between you loving yourself and constantly seeking validation, then you're fine, but you should always love yourself more than seeking validation from others. Now, the second grave habit I made, a lot of you guys probably know this because I made like 2 videos on this or something, I don't know, but it is scrolling. And I used to be a big scroller back then. I used to scroll on like YouTube Shorts back when I was like 13 years old, and I would scroll maybe like 3 to 4 hours every single day in the summers and like 1 to 2 hours every single day in like the school days. And it was pretty horrible because it took up a lot of time for myself. I didn't really have much time to like work on myself, even though I didn't really get on self-improvement. My time was just wasted into scrolling. I could have done anything more productive than scrolling. This lowered my attention span. This made me more anxious, and I would use scrolling as a way to escape the reality I was in that current situation. And when I got Instagram, which was around April of 2025, it got even worse because Instagram, all my friends are on it. Everybody's scrolling on Instagram. People are saying that Instagram Reels are better than YouTube Shorts. So I stopped watching YouTube Shorts and I just focused all my attention on Instagram Reels. And this took a heavy toll on my attention span and basically every aspect of my life. So I started becoming less confident in myself, but I started self-improvement in late May and I realized that scrolling was a bad thing, maybe like 1 to 2 months in self-improvement. So it actually got better, but sometimes I still catch myself scrolling to this day. So I probably should eliminate this habit, but yeah. And the third bad habit, probably the worst one out of the 3, is procrastination. And I see a bunch of people doing this mistake. Now, back in 7th grade, I promised myself I would work out. I had a few friends who had abs, and they're like, most of them were like skinny abs. So I wanted to cut even though I was at like 110 pounds. And I promised myself I would work out. I'd have like 1 to 2 very motivated days where I just hit as many push-ups as I could and just start working out, start doing bicep curls and everything. And the rest of the days I would go like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And I was a heavy procrastinator back then. And in 8th grade, since I was scrolling so much, I got exposed to different niches around the world, and I eventually got exposed to drop shipping, affiliate marketing, all this business type of stuff. And I was looking at 14-year-olds making 10K a month. And I told myself I was going to start drop shipping. I started looking into it, but I never actually started my drop shipping business. This is another example of procrastination. So These three are probably three of the biggest mistakes that I've made in my teenager years, and I'm going to be breaking down on how to resolve all three of these mistakes. Now, on seeking validation from others, I think I've already made this video. You can check it out if you want. I'm going to put it right here. But for seeking validation from others, I'm just going to summarize the other video that I talked about, but it is just to start connecting with yourself. You know, start taking walks, start talking about your ambitions, start talking about your goals. For me, it's basically just like a journaling and meditation hybrid, which is very great. So maybe in the night times, I can just take night walks instead of meditating and journaling. Still, I'll always journal in the night, but taking walks is just a great way to put your thoughts out into this world by yourself and just relax your mind. So what I would do to stop seeking the validation of others is you gotta realize that not every single person in this world is going to love you. Even if you are the most jacked person on the planet, even if you are the nicest person on the planet, not everybody is going to like you. And that's the harsh truth that I wish that my 13-year-old self had knew. So you just gotta realize that and start connecting with yourself, start talking with yourself, start working out, start having some goals and aspirations that you can work towards. And I guarantee you that once you start taking action and doing the things that I've told you to do, I can't guarantee this, but from my experience, I have definitely stopped seeking approval of other people. Now, for scrolling, this was also a very big habit for me. Personally, I would still catch myself scrolling sometimes, so I don't really have the best guide on how to stop scrolling, but I've significantly reduced the amount of time I've scrolled. So I used to scroll like, again, 1 to 2 hours a day on school days, and I've reduced it down to like maybe 30 to an hour a day. I don't scroll that much. Maybe when I'm like getting back home from the bus or something, I go on my phone and scroll for a while. But for me, since I was on self-improvement and I was reminded that scrolling was very horrible for you and there was like a bunch of horrible side effects, I just like cut down scrolling a bunch. I didn't need to like cut down by increments. I just completely cut down to like 30 to an hour. So for you guys out there, I would just cut down in increments. For example, if you scroll like 3 hours a day, cut it down by 15-minute increments. And even though 15 minutes doesn't look like that much, it is a lot, because in just maybe 10 days, you're going to cut down 150 minutes. That's like what, 2 hours and something minutes? But yeah, make sure to start cutting down by increments. I would recommend like 15 minutes, because if you're going down from like 3 hours to 2 hours 45 minutes, you wouldn't really see a difference anyways. So make sure just to cut down by very small increments. Now for procrastination, this is a huge one. And for me, I use this thing called the 2-minute rule. Now the 2-minute rule is where you just start doing what you desire to do, but you're too lazy to do, for 2 minutes. For example, if you work out, hit a few push-ups for 2 minutes, hit a few ab workouts for 2 minutes, hit a few bicep curls for 2 minutes. Just do it for 2 minutes, and I guarantee you that since you've already created that initial momentum, it's going to last, and you're going to start working out even for longer. You're going to go much longer than 2 minutes. I guarantee you that. You know, sometimes I'd be a bit lazy to do my schoolwork, but after applying the 2-minute rule, I've definitely gotten a bunch of schoolwork done. But what you're really missing and what's really causing this procrastination is that you don't have any initial momentum. But once you tell yourself that you're going to do it for 2 minutes, once you tell yourself you're going to do something you don't want for only such a short amount of time, you're going to start doing it. And once you give yourself that momentum, you're going to keep on going. All right, so there it is. That's the 3 biggest mistakes I've made when I was 11 to early 14 years old. And hopefully I managed to kind of help you get on the right track so you can stop these bad habits if you do have any of these. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this video or you've taken some value out of it, and I'll see you guys next one.